So last month, we released Flet version 0.23.0, which came along with a lot of new controls and new properties, amongst with the map control, which was one of the most requested controls by the community. So with this map control, we are going to be able to display interactive maps with simple Python code. So under documentation, you move to controls and then information displays. You have the map over here. This is the documentation for the map control. So you have the example and then you have the map properties. So the map only has two important properties, the configuration and the layers. So the configuration, this is where we define the initial state, how the map is to be interacted with, and also the event handlers related to the map. And you have the layers property, which is a list of layers to be displayed in our application. So it's kind of stack-like in the sense that the first item of the list or the first layer is going to be displayed right at the bottom, and the last item of the list, so the last layer, is going to be displayed right at the top. All right, so we have these layers, as you can see, the CircleLayer, the MarkerLayer, PolygonLayer, Polyline, RichAttribution, so these are for attributions, and we have the TileLayer. So the TileLayer is actually the most important layer. We are briefly going to have a look at all of these layers. So in my IDE, I have this very basic application, this simple hello world application in Flet. So over here, import Flet as FT. This is the main entry point of the application. And here it's just to say the window should always be on top. So the window always stay on top. We are going to place it somewhere here and have it in hot reload mode so that when we make changes, we see them live in the window. And here we just add some text, hello world, and this launches the application. So to launch the application in hot reload mode, I'm just going to say fletron, the name of my file. So fletron launches the application in hot reload mode, and then the name of my file to say which file should be hot reloaded or should be launched in hot reload mode. Press enter and you can see the very simple application appears. Let me just size the window and then let's have it over here. And you can see whatever I do in the IDE, the window always stays on top. So to get started with the map, I'm going to get rid of this guy over here. And the first thing is to import the map package. So it is located at flet.map, and then we're going to import it as map. And from here, we are going to do page.add map.map, which is the minimum you must have. And we need to specify some parameters. So we need to specify the layers parameter, which is a list of map layers. So over here, I'm going to specify the layers, which is a list of layers. The first layer is going to be the tile layer. This tile layer requires the URL template parameter. And over here, just before we launch the application, so before I save and this gets hot reloaded, I'm just going to specify expand equals to true. So you need to constrain, you need to provide some constraints, either by saying expand equals to true or by providing a width and height for the map itself or for the map control. And from here, I'm going to specify the configuration also to some basic map configuration item. Inside this map configuration, you can see it has a lot of properties. So the initial center, which is latitude, longitude, initial rotation, so how the map is initially rotated at the beginning, the initial zoom, the interaction configuration, and yeah, the BG color and so on. So what we can add right now are some events. So we can add the onInit, so that when the map is initialized, it should be called. So we can specify right here the onInit and say lambda e, so a dummy callback. Then we're going to say lambda e print map init. We can also specify the ontap directly and say handle tap. So this handle tap, we are going to define it over here. Define handle tap e. And then if you don't know the type of this event, you can just hover on tap and you're going to see it is of type map tap event. And then here we are going to say print E. So it's going to print all the informations related to this map tap event. All right, let's save it first. You can see the URL template is required. I didn't provide any valid URL template. So I'm going to move over here to the tile layer, or let's say to the map directly. I'm going to copy this simple URL template that we have over here. Let me quickly explain it. So here we have the tile provider, which is OpenStreetMap. The Z represents the zoom, X represents the X coordinates, and Y represents the Y coordinates, and .png, it means it's an image. So this tile layer simply fetches images, so tile images from this tile provider, and it's going to display them in our application. So when the user scrolls with the mouse wheel, so zooms in and out, this tile provider is going to provide other images. So when the zoom is modified, new images are generated and are displayed in our application. Let me save this first, and you can see this is the application which got launched. Over here, you notice that the init has been called. So this init has been called, and the next is simply this on tap. Let's test the on tap by clicking on the map. And when you click on the map, you can see it prints E, so the event, the map tab event, and all its details. So you have your map tab event. The name of the event is a tab. The data, so you can simply ignore this data. So this data is a JSON string, but what you should look at is these guys over here, CDN. So you have over here the local X, which has this value. We have the local Y, which has this value, the global X, and the coordinates equally. So this map tab event, when you click somewhere, it helps you know exactly where the user has clicked. So when I type over here, you see it generates new coordinates and so on. Okay, so as I said, for the tile layer, when I scroll like this, the zoom level is modified and new tile images are being fetched and loaded directly. As you can see, it happens really fast. You are not able to notice it with the human eye. It happens really fast. So tile images are being fetched. As I zoom, as I move left to right, new images or new tile images are being fetched and loaded directly into the application. So that's the use of this URL template. You can also have an on-image error to get notified when an error occurs while loading the images or the tile images. So over here, I'm just going to print image error, and that's it. But no error occurs over here because the tiles are loaded correctly. So we are using the OpenStreetMap and the tiles are loaded correctly. So inside the map configuration, you can add other events like the on secondary tap, on long press, because in this case, when a long press is detected over here, you can see nothing is called. I'm pressing for a long time already, but nothing is called. So you can define, for instance, let's say on long press, and let's combine it equally to the handle tap. So now when I long press, you see it is called, and the name over here, long press, tells you that it was a long press. All right, so that's all for the map configuration. There are other properties. You can move around and explore them, all these other events and so on, and adapt them to your use cases. So the circle layer takes a list of circles. That's the important parameter in there. You need to provide a list of circles. These circles are circle markers. Concerning the first circle marker, you can provide the coordinates. You can define the color, border color, and so on. There's one parameter which needs to be specified, the radius and the coordinates. The radius, something like 20, and the coordinates, latitude, longitude, that's the type of it. And we're going to use something over here. Save it, and you can see this is the radius being displayed over here. So it has a default color. We can modify it to ft.colors.blue. Save. That's the point over there. That's the circle marker. It equally has some other properties which you can use. The border color, let's have a look at it. So I'm going to say border color red. Seems to have no effect. We need to modify the border stroke width. Let's say 5. Save. And you can see that's the result of it over there. And by the way, if you don't know what color to use, or if you just want to use a random color from the colors module, you can simply say random color, and a random color will always be displayed. So when I save, you can see random colors are displayed. So that's quite it for the circle marker. Let's say we want to display a polygon somewhere here. So I pressed so that I can receive the latitude and longitude values, as you can see from here. So the next layer we are going to add on top of this is going to be the polygon layer. Requires a list of polygons, of polygon markers to be precise. So we are going to add one. It requires the coordinates, as you can see. So over here we can simply say coordinates map.map latitude longitude, and then specify these coordinates over here. So 12 and -6. 12 and -6. It expects a list of coordinates. So I'm going to wrap this in a list so we can actually provide more. Okay, let's say something like 20 and then -10. So we have these two coordinates, but we cannot see the polygon marker. Let's add a third one. I don't know, let's say add 30 and then -30. And then let me give it a color. I'm going to give this a color of ft colors.random color. So as you can see from here, this is our polygon marker, which is displayed. And what we can do now is modify the positions or these coordinates. So instead of having this over here, we can have it somewhere, let's say here. So I'm clicking so that I can receive the values, and you can see we have 6 and 1. So I don't know which one it is. I think this second one, 6 and 1. Let me save it. Ah, that was the wrong one. Should be this one, 6 and 1. Let's make it bigger by modifying this one at the top. No, let's have it somewhere at the top over here. 23 and minus 10 should be this one, I think. 23 and minus 10. Refresh. Okay. And this one can be here. 11 and minus 11. It should be this guy, if not mistaken, or this guy. 11 and minus 11. Save it. And that's our polygon marker being displayed. So that's quite it. So there are some other properties which you can equally add. So it has the label, so you can simply provide a string, random label. Let's save it. So it should be displayed somewhere in there, but it is not visible. Let's modify the label style. For that, we are going to use the ft.text style, and from here, let me add a comma. Let's modify the color. So ft.colors.green. Modify the size, so let's say something like, I don't know, 20, or let's say 19. Save it. I can't see it. Ah, okay, here it is. So over here, I'm going to add map.PolylineLayer. It takes a list of polylines list, and inside we need to add polyline markers. It has properties like the coordinates, color stops, the color, and so on. One property needs to be specified, coordinates, which is also a list. So we can say map latitude, longitude, and start filling it up. Let's say like this. Let me copy this and paste it twice. Then have something like 30 over here, I don't know, 12, 13. And for the last one, we can say 23 and 40. So save it, and this is the polyline being displayed over here. So similar to the example in the documentation. So here's the polyline being displayed. We can modify the color to be ft.colors.randomColor, and we can modify the border stroke width. Let's say 10. How big will it be? Yeah, so it's not bad. So that's our polyline layer, as you can see. Directly after the polyline layer, let's add a marker layer. So it takes a list of markers, map.marker, and one item needs to be provided, which is the content. Let's say an icon, ft.icons.randomIcon. You can optionally give it a color, ft.colors.randomColor. And seems like another property is required, the coordinates of your thing. Where should it be placed in the map? Let's just have some random coordinates, map latitude, longitude, and then let's say 35, 35. Save it. This is the icon over here. So we can make it bigger, size 30, save, and this is it over here. Yeah, so that's it for the marker layer. It can help you display any item you want to display on the map. Let's add a RichAttribution over here directly after this, RichAttribution. And from here, we need to specify some parameters, the attributions. The attributions is a list of attributions. What type does it have? It has the type TextSourceAttribution. So map.TextSourceAttribution. And this one also has some parameters which we must specify. So we have the text style. So the text, we are going to say attribution. What else can we provide? Let's say an onClick, and we're simply going to say lambda e and then print RichAttribution clicked. Let's save this, and this is the attribution which is shown over here. This is the attribution message or text I added, and when I click on this attribution message, you can see RichAttribution clicked. So this message made with flutter map is also added, and you have this copyright mark over here. So to remove the copyright mark, you can simply say prepend copyright, set it to false. So save it, and you can see the copyright mark is not more there. So over here, what you can also do is to say page.launch URL, and then you can provide some URL. So let's say https flet.dev. When we say like this, clicking on this launches the Flet website. So that's simply it. What other property does the RichAttribution have? It has the alignment. It has stuff like the show flutter map attribution. So this property is going to control this flutter map attribution that we have over here. So if you want to remove it, say show footer map attribution false. We can also modify the alignment. So alignment, let's say top left. Footer map attribution has been removed. Let's remove this and have the footer map attribution right there. Seems like the alignment did not have an effect. Maybe this is a bug. Let's say top center. It is still not shown at the top center. So this might be a bug. I'm going to look at it later on. So that's it for the rich attribution. We can also have simple attributions. So we have simple attribution. We also need to specify over here the text, and we can actually save it. And you see it is displayed over here. This one has alignment, and we can modify the alignment. So let's say top center, and you see it is displayed over here. This map control can be displayed on all platforms. So if I modify over here the view to the web browser, Flet run, here's the link, and you can see over here it works perfectly in the browser also. That's quite it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'm quite excited to see what you are going to build with this new map control we added to the Flet framework.